Hey gang, what's up? Aaron right here, Canadian Looney, wearing my David Menzies hat. Everybody should have one. We're gonna have Shelby Kramp-Neuman. She's the U.S. trade critic, U.S.-Canada trade critic, and she's real sharp. She's gonna put this CBC host in her place, which doesn't look like an easy task, moving this thing around. Let's take a look.
With U.S. tariffs now imposed on much of the world, here in Canada, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is ramping up his criticism of the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, for not securing a new trade deal.
Now, Mark Carney promised that he would handle Donald Trump. That's a quote. He said that he would negotiate a win with Donald Trump. He said that the deal would be done by July the 21st, and then he said it would be done by August the 1st. Those promises were not kept. The tariffs have actually doubled since Mark Carney became Prime Minister, promising that he would get results.
Instead, Poilievre is proposing his own plan to spur the Canadian economy in the face of tariffs. He says his Canada Sovereignty Act would speed things up so that 2 pipeline projects, an LNG project, and a road to Ontario's Ring of Fire would be under construction by next March. For more on the plan, we've reached Shelby Kramp-Neuman. She is the Conservative She is the Conservative critic for Canada-U.S. trade. Thank you very much for joining us. I want to start about this announcement today from Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. Tell us how this would work.
Thank you, Katie. Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be with you today. Look, this has been an extraordinarily tricky several weeks, months that we've been trying to manage. And Canadians in general are nervous, they're frustrated, they're concerned, and we don't know what's happening because the goalpost keeps getting moved forward and forward. Look, first we had a conversation at the G7 that we were going to have a deal by July 16th. And then that moved forward to July 21st, and then that moved forward to August 1st. So the goalpost keeps moving. So with the announcement today, we're saying Canadians need to get back to work. Canadians need to have a sense of where we're going. Canadians need some hope that we can move forward.
So how exactly would that break down? So that's your goal, is to get things moving. How would the Conservatives make this happen? How do you want to see it take place?
For sure. Well, after basically a decade of liberal failures, I'll be quite candid respectfully, our industries have been crippled. We've got anti-developmental laws, emission caps, industrial carbon tax. There's a host of different policies that need to be reversed to get boots in the ground and Canadians back to work.
So I understand your criticism of the Liberal government, but how exactly would this Conservative plan work?
Well, look, Katie, with all due respect, respectfully, this conversation that has been happening over the last several months has been lacking. I have made several efforts, as have all Conservatives, to move the needle on this. Mark Carney promised that he would handle this during the election. He promised that he would negotiate a win. This is not happening. So how we can move forward with this, we need to resume the House. We did try to get the conversation back with the International Trade Committee. That hasn't happened. So we're just trying to show Canadians that there are solutions to this on the domestic side. We can't always handle what's happening south of the border. So we have to look at how we can do things in-house to get jobs, people on the jobs, boots on the ground and shovels in the ground.
I understand. We're going to get to the criticism in a moment. I'm going to ask you for how you would like to see Mark Carney act differently. But for Canadians who are watching this, who may not have seen Pierre Poilievre's announcement today, I'm trying to understand what this plan outlines, and I'm not getting a sense of that from you.
No, I can happily provide that. I'll be quite specific. Bill C-69, which has made it impossible to build pipelines. We need to basically, there's a series of growth blocking laws that we need to repeal. Bill C-48, which banned oil tankers on the West Coast. The industrial carbon tax, which raises costs on everything for Canadians. The oil and gas cap, that's killing jobs. The EV sales mandate that will increase the price of gas-powered vehicles, the plastic bans, the censorship laws. There's a host of policies that need to be reversed, and it's a all in one, and it's a vision for Canadians as opposition, because we can't just be, parliamentarians often look at the short game, and we really have to look at the long game and how we can best benefit all Canadians.
Okay, so there's been some disagreement among Canada's premiers about the best path forward. We're hearing from Ontario Premier Doug Ford saying that Canada should retaliate harder heard that tariffs should be increased against American goods. Other premiers are saying no, perhaps it's time to scale that back. Which direction do you think the federal government should go in this moment in order to deal with Donald Trump?
Bottom line, Katie, I would suggest that we all need to be at the negotiating table. Right now, the government is I respect, it's a game of strategic chess. And right now, I'm not sure if there's anyone at the other end, at the other side of the table that's playing games. So we have to look at concessions. We don't know what concessions are being made at what cost. And Canadians, we have such a long-standing history and tradition and integration between our two economies that we have to recognize how we can together make this work. And right now, opposition, in my opinion, opposition needs to be at the table. We've put that offer out. It stands stale. Stakeholders need to be at the table. And right now, I've made conscious efforts to the government to have conversations. I've made conscious efforts to be in Ottawa and in Washington speaking with stakeholders and industry leaders. And right now, if I can look into the cracked and cloudy crystal ball, we have to figure out and help stakeholders figure out how we're going to navigate in this path moving forward, because this isn't going to finish or end anytime soon.
But shouldn't there just be one voice for Canada at this point? Mark Carney ran during the election campaign. He won. We know in the negotiating room, it's Kirsten Hillman, who's the Canadian ambassador to the U.S. It's Dominic LeBlanc. We do know some of what's gone on back and forth through the announcement. So when you say we don't know what the concessions are, we kind of know what's already been put on the table. Canada agreeing to spend more than $1 billion on border security. Canada increasing military spending in order to meet those NATO targets. Canada agreeing to drop the DST. Do you agree with those moves so far?
The moves are talk. I would encourage Prime Minister Carney to meet the ambition of his words. And right now, there's a lot of announcements and a lot of conversations, but no real action is being made. Businesses and industries and families are feeling the hit across the board. So I think there's many pieces at play here, like even with regards to we're not knowing. There's so many unanswered questions. So I think that what I would encourage Prime Minister Carney to do is sit with the opposition, have that conversation respectfully, sit with stakeholders, and help everyone be that Team Canada that you referred to, and be the team, that one Canadian voice. We can do that. We can do that and respectfully move the needle on this.
But has he not done that, meeting with Indigenous stakeholders today? He's met with industry leaders. He's been consulting with the premiers. Has that not been happening? Are you just saying that you specifically would like to be included in the consultation process, and you feel it's unfair that you've been left out? I
think it's imperative that we're at the negotiating table. Full stop.
So you think a Conservative MP should be at the negotiating table in the room with Kirsten Hillman and Dom LeBlanc?
It certainly would help.
Okay, we'll leave the conversation there. Thank you very much for your time today. That is the Conservative critic for Canada-U.S. trade.
Oh, yeah. So, gang, we're going to wrap it up right there. I'm Aaron, Canadian Looney, showing Canadians what it is I'm learning about Canadian federal politics. I wasn't always an expert. Maybe I'm still not, but we're working on it. And showing Canadians what it is I'm learning. I came into this I thought as a liberal. No more, baby. Let's vote for the Conservatives. We need a change. That's it. Aaron, Canadian Looney, thank you very much for watching. Check out some of the other videos. That's it. We'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day.
The one we call